No, you know, I think the one we will be thinking, so. Yeah. Great work, that's for this one. See, right? But he's one of this for. Everyone's hey, here we go. Beavercreek Rotary meeting, January 16th. Halfway through January, we are. Then we get this kind of weather out here. All right. Then John, good job. I'm gonna bring down the snowball. Hit my head too hard. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, so everyone. Would you join me in prayer? Oh Lord, giver of all good, we thank you for our daily food. May Rotary friends that grow up in ways help us to serve thee all of our days. Amen. Sorry, couldn't find anything brighter or worse. Just what I found. I know y'all want to know there's 288 days to Halloween. I know y'all wondering about this. Yeah, so the Secretary of Enforcement.
I'm still entering to get, we are well over 70%.
Good.
Randy has a handful of guests. Would you like to introduce those?
Sure. I have three members of our administration for the fire department, Assistant Chief Walker, excuse me, Division Chief Easter, and Division Chief Harrison. I can't stop laughing. Sorry.
She has some guests too, if you'd like to introduce those.
Absolutely, no stranger, but the chair of my board, Jessica Dean, Township Trustee, as well as Vice Chair of our board, Township Trustee, Bob Stone, no strangers, and you all know he's not a guest, but I'll introduce my whole board. Eric Higgins, Township Trustee, newly elected, and then Chris Law,
And then I brought a guest, Mr. Jim Fountain, formerly of Noah. Welcome.
Welcome all, guys. I'm glad you're all here. It's a good turnout.
No pressure, Ryan.
You can take it. Very true. The sergeant or Thanks, sir. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians, and hello again to all of our guests, the Beavercreek Township table or fire department table, and of course, Jim as well. And of course, our lovely speaker, Ryan, who's sitting at the same table, who will be up here shortly. And welcome again to the Rotary Club of Beavercreek, and happy National Appreciate a Dragon Day. I don't know how to celebrate that, so take that for however you want. Now, last week, I think I went way over our beautiful Q&A session that we could have had with Pete. So I'm going to make this very short so we can ask all the questions for Ryan. I just wants to answer all the questions that we have for him. So here we go. Let's fly through some birthdays and anniversaries. Start off with birthdays. Hey, it's me. I got a birthday today. We also have Brandon Hogue, who will be celebrating his birthday on the 19th, and Pete Bales will be celebrating his birthday on the 22nd. Partner birthdays, James Grundle, be sure to wish your wife a happy birthday on the 22nd. Member anniversaries, we have Denny Jarvie celebrating 24 years, being with us on the 18th. And wedding anniversaries, I believe this is a typo on Jerry's. It's saying on the 18th, Jerry and Carol will celebrate 62 years. So I don't know if they got married at the age of 5. What's going on there? But no way it's been 62 years, but congratulations to you two. That's awesome. Some good things that happened today in history. Not a lot of cool stuff, but we got a couple here. 1939, Superman was first published as a daily newspaper comic strip. And then in 2005, a lady decided that you're never too old to barely pursue your dreams. A Romanian university lecturer, gave birth at the age of 66, making her the oldest woman to ever do so. Now, I've never been one to somebody, but I, at my right age of not 66, can only imagine how painful and awful that would feel. So props to her. Saturday, we're looking for things to celebrate. We got National Kid Inventors Day and National Use Your Gift Card Day, which if you have any teenagers in your household or extended family, that's probably a good reminder because I think every teenager or young adult asks for gift cards these days. Sunday, we know the Cusack will be celebrating National Gourmet Coffee Day. And I think everyone here is going to be celebrating National Michigan Day on Sunday. Monday, we got Elementary School Teacher Day, and then of course Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Tuesday, we have National Camcorder Day, if you can actually find one of those things these days. We also have Penguin Awareness Day. Wednesday, we got National Cheesy Socks Day and National Hug Your Puppy Day. Thursday is National Polka Dot Day along with Flashing Clothes Day, so those two definitely go hand in hand. And if we're looking for some fun things to do this upcoming week, as you all are aware, tomorrow is Cram the Cruiser at Beavercreek Rotary from 10 to 2. Thursday, I think all of us will be at City Hall for the very exciting North Fairfield Road Widening Program or Project Open House. Moving on to Beavercreek School alternates, we had the women's varsity basketball team beat Miamisburg 46-16. They also beat St. Ursula by a pretty good amount. Men's varsity basketball, they beat Miamisburg and Springfield. Men's JV basketball, unfortunately lost to Miamisburg and Springfield. We have a common thing here with the bowling teams. The women's varsity, the men's varsity, and the men's JV team all beat Northmont. And then the women's JV and varsity girls team both placed runners up at the Baker Battle tournament. The varsity boys and JV boys both won the Baker's Dash tournament, and the varsity boys also had a perfect game in that tournament as well. Women's wrestling, we had Audrey and Evelyn go undefeated at their latest meet, and the men's wrestling team went 4-2 at Pressville Duels and took team runner-up. And now, our favorite part. So for my birthday, I figured, you know what, let's just do one fine outside of you're not wearing your badge, you're late, which I didn't see anybody. So today's fine is if you weren't born on January 16th, that's $1. Perks of being Sergeant at Arms. Which, by the way, if anyone takes over Sergeant at Arms in the next year or two, let me know. You can use the power as well. David, time for some happy bucks.
Yes, sir. Here's my fine for not being born on January 6th. Okay, still. Anybody have a happy bucks?
So, happy 5. I want to tell you, we are going to stuff a cruiser for sure tomorrow. Big thanks to Shannon and Dave for taking care of getting that all over to Kroger. But we bought about 100 units of, I don't know, 10 or 12 different types of food. So it is going to be a lot of food. Jim, his whole family makes, so he decided not to buy her spread, so he made a very large donation, made a lot of people. So thank you to him and his family, and I think we're going to be doing it, but it's going to be really great. So big thanks, and those kids need food, so it's a good cause. So thank you.
Yes.
A few happy bucks. I unfortunately have been going to other Rotary clubs lately, so just other things involved with the nonprofit. So I've been taking some people around to different who got the best bucks. Happy bucks. I got a $5 fine for the next thing. There's a petition going around for Judge Cindy Martin, my wife's boss, but great judge. She's running for re-election for domestic relations court judge. So here's my 5 from the fine. And apparently I got voted off the island over there, but I got 5 happy bucks for, and I'm not going to speak for the trustees because I have no staff at the township, but the staff makes me look good every day. So 5 happy bucks for all our staff.
Anybody else have
Yeah, a couple. So boys or the men's team plays Beavercreek basketball tonight versus Northmont. That's at home. And then if you like basketball, some of the best high school players are going to be at Trent Arena in Kettering this weekend for a tournament called Flying to the Hoops. It starts tonight. It goes through Monday. So if you like really good high school basketball, check it out. And then if you're really bored and you want to go see some really awesome, you got it? Go see the mayor. Okay.
Yeah, this weekend I'm gonna do my 19th year as stage manager for the show choir competition. And if you've never seen these kids perform, you've heard them sing here, but they get up there and sing and dance. It's an amazing thing to watch. So much talent out there. But the fire department around 2:30 on Sunday morning, if you stop by the high school, pick me up and take me home, I appreciate it.
Also, thank Rotary for donating. For a great cause. Last year we filled up 2 cruisers. And I'm pretty sure we'll probably have to bring at least another one up there tomorrow. So thanks again for your help with that.
I'm just thankful to be here. My daughter is in some recruiting for softball. And yes, I know there's snow on the ground. Yeah, there is not other places, and they have a newer facility, so we've been making our rounds. So I'm just happy to be here. And then number 2, we shut down one of our branches for renovations. And I told my team about this awesome place, makerspace at the Greek County Library. And I'll tell you what, the amount of money and time and effort and energy that has saved us is immense. And they are so helpful. They're so fun. So I am going to shout out to our place.
Anybody else? All right, you ready for the 50-50? Thank you, sir. Take number 189, the last 3 numbers. Oh, yeah.
No, it's all that thing when I came. But you not just cancel stuff out for something.
Nobody's answering, so.
Yeah.
What's my phone?
It was Kenzie.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't see your hand go up.
That's it.
Hot girl.
That's it. Never back to the mountains. I have an announcement. We had our Rotary 4-week speech contest last night. And the judges were our president, along with Beth Kuzak, Fran O'Shaughnessy, and Beth. Well, she was sitting over there. And all 3 of the winners had previously competed and also had been award winners. This year's winner was a fellow named Matthew Blackman. And he will present here at some date that will be announced.
Yes. Yeah, they all did a great job. It's amazing what those, I say kids, but young adults, they put a lot of time, a lot of preparation. I did a very nice job. And we'll figure out when we can get them up here to the winner give a speech. All right. We still have a little bit of business to do from last week. The nominations should be.
Oh, I'll get it back up.
We just have 2. Who's positions on the board? You guys open to the guys. Well, one of them is Billy Curtis. Chris decided to leave. Do something else. Bigger, better things. Well, since the way, are there any nominations for the positions on the board?
Do we have more slots that need to be filled or nominations have not been made to?
Yes.
Okay. Well, how many is it? Just one?
One spot that
There's two.
nominations have been made for.
There's two. We need to fill your spot and then Chris's spot.
Oh, Kenzie was nominated on the slate. But still, are there any nominations? Are there any
I
nominations?
have a question. Is there anybody here that wants to be nominated? I mean, no, and I'm not saying that, facetiously. In reality, we're in a room full of people that are doers, you know what I'm saying? And we all sit back until we see something needs to be done, and if it's not being done, we step in. And so I don't want somebody to think that raising your hand, I'll gladly nominate you. But is it needs to be done, and then either we're gonna volunteer for it or we're gonna be on hold, right? And so, you guys know me, and I'm willing to fill in a gap that doesn't get filled, but if there's anybody that would like to be more involved in the club, I'd gladly nominate, you know what I'm saying? I was thinking about that the other day, and I don't want anybody to think, hey, about it. It was weird. I think if you wanna be part of it, you can. Just two things.
So
One-
I didn't understand this. So you get elected to the board of directors and then the president appoints you to a spot. So it's not like you're being elected for a particular role on the board. It's just a generic. I didn't understand that. Yeah. But technically Shannon is service projects and Chris is engagement. Technically speaking.
All the hands are up.
Mhm.
Are there any further nominations? Any further nominations? Hearing none, or seeing none, nominations will be closed. So I have to volunteer somebody. Next, our speaker is somebody you all know, one of our members, Ryan Rushing. You would like to come up?
I'm trying here, man, Ryan. You saw it was working.
It's not.
It just died. I don't know what happened.
Not the HDMI cord is shorted out.
Plugged in.
Yeah.
You want me to bring the computer up to you, Ryan? So you can see it? What's the slide, the deck? Well, the HDMI cord, I think, is dead or something because it just failed.
Oh, no, there was work.
I know, it was just up there.
We have more issues with technology.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Happy birthday. Stephen Brown.
So what do you think? What would you, do you have a paper there?
I don't know if Joe's.
Oh, you have another HDMI cord? Let's give it a shot. I'm sorry, guys. It was literally working.
Very important about this. Instead of.
So,
I thought that was on there. Guess not.
hey, Chris, do you have an HDMI port in your car or your bag
one
of
was it?
goodies?
Which one was it?
Uh, that's the bad one. Yeah, do the old Nintendo trick.
I just bought a new one. That's why I just said an old one here.
You may remember doing that, blowing on the Nintendo cartridges.
Does it work?
Voila.
No.
No.
Pulling.
Wait a minute.
Don't touch it.
I know. Checking the device connection.
You have to cycle it 2 HDMIs. If you take this one off, I'll there you go.
It's not showing the computer.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, it can be high quality.
I'm fine. It's literally working. What would you like to?
Here.
Oh, what is HDMI two now available, so hold on, that works. Hang on. I wonder if, can we put your cloud drive directly into the TV?
That's all right, Brian. We still have to ask first. So, this is gonna be so good when it gets up, trust me. I'll try.
Yeah, see, that's the, here, I'm gonna try something. I'm trying. To put- I think it went to the TV.
Oh, it did? Well, then go back to the high def too.
We have the History Channel on.
Yeah.
Let's see if it does it.
Go back to
Hang on.
that because there should not be a problem with the HD.
It happens.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to put your thing right into the TV. Let's see what this is.
Nothing. Nothing coming to mind.
Did you change the port so the HDMI to
Smart me.
on this one?
It's on HDMI two.
Do you want to change port and see?
Oh, here's mass storage here. Hold on. Let me see if I can get that. I don't know how you advance it by when it's in there. We'll see what happens. They have any ideas?
Why don't you plug,
The HDMI isn't working on this TV though.
in an HDMI one? There you go, use the default.
Windows you can get. No. Does it pick up HDMI one?
Hold on, I'm fighting.
Here, I think I got it.
That's why I looked at you. I didn't say that word.
Yeah.
I thought you were all Nintendo's for it. I thought that.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
That
Yep.
thumb drive or HDMI one? I switched.
Thanks, guys.
Beavercreek Township, any questions?
Now you can see it, right?
Well, with that, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here once again to speak to all of you about Beavercreek Township. It's quite easy for me to do because there's a lot of good things that go along. We have a table here, crossing the room of a lot of great players who contribute to Beavercreek Township. I always like to begin, if you would advance the slide, please.
Yes, sir.
This slide has been up here since Mr. Zahara was giving the presentation. It's always interesting to know that those who live in Beaver Creek, you all should be proud. Your legacy goes back to the founding of the state in 1803, when Beaver Creek Township was one of the first townships within Greene County that went all the way. There's some debate, but for the most interpretive way, went all the way to later. And I just where Beaver Creek has come back in 1803. Next item is, not to be redundant, sometimes we get a question of what is the township? Well, theoretically, all of Beaver Creek is in the township. The real question when people ask when they say that is, what's incorporated, what's unincorporated? So this map right here, it illustrates that by way of zoning, but any of the colored districts, that is the unincorporated area of Beaver Creek Township. Primarily, you can think of it as the eastern area, the unincorporated part of the township. But practically, you go up to the northwest, you have area by Mission Point and the base that will come online with potential projects in the future. And down in the southwest, in the corner by the green, you have Walden Lakes that was also part of Kettering in terms of annexation, but Beaver Creek Township originally. So please advance. Big news for 2026, and I'd be what you do if I didn't recognize our new board. As you all know, we have two new trustees that joined us for 2026. The first, not least, our chair of our board, Jessica Dean, serving as chair. Vice chair of the board, no stranger to public service, Bob Stone, as well as one of your own Rotarians, trustee Joe Jenkins. So I just want to acknowledge them. Move forward, please. Now we get into some of the numbers, so to speak. This pie chart right here shows you a percent of the budget by fund.
Nothing to be shocked about. Our largest program, our largest fund is the fire department. And as you look at this pie chart, the fire department itself represents about 42%. That's a little bit of a misnomer because as you can see, the way we do accounting to ensure that we're compliant with all applicable state laws, to ensure that the dollars that the residents have given to us by way of tax dollars is accounted properly. We use a lot of funds. So with here, we have the fire fund, as you see here, but then you see the EMS fund at 9.3%, fire station fund at 12.1%, new ambulance fund, fire engine fund. So when you combine all the applicable funds, the fire department sure represents well over 7% of the township's budget. And if you think about the fire department is very agnostic about city versus township. The service area for the fire department is all of Beavercreek, which is why it's the largest portion of our budget and how we service the entire community. Now we get to funding sources, the infamous question about property taxes and how that will look like. I'm not going to dwell on this. You see periodicals, you see the news about the efforts with property taxes. Townships by state statute, by the Ohio Revised Code, are creatures of the state. We are a permissive form of government. We can only do what the state of Ohio has allowed us to do by way of the Ohio Revised Code, which is dissimilar to municipalities that can incorporate and become home rule. So our primary revenue share is property tax. And if you look at this massive chart here, it's pretty telling. You don't even have to look at the percentage to understand what percent of our funds, what percent of our revenue is by way of property tax. And then if you include the items in which we obtain through property tax, as Mr. Landrum talked about last week, that number would increase dramatically. We get our grants through being able to have those matching funds. Where does the matching funds come from? Property tax. Our interest earnings, we invest because idle funds sitting in a bank account collecting dust does no one know there. So those dollars are invested, and that interest earnings, the principal, came from property tax. So if you will whittle this down, and if we looked at what would be the township without property tax, well, quite frankly, not much at all. We do have charges for service, which is primarily through EMS billing. So we will be on sort of EMS service, albeit very, very, very little. You have also intergovernmental revenue. We receive a portion of the gas tax, that's levied by the state of Ohio. We receive municipal motor vehicle license registration, that $5 piggyback every time you renew your license. Part of that comes in fact in local fees. So we do have some of those dollars coming back, but by and large, the township wouldn't exist without property tax. There is a bill that has already been passed by the Ohio House of Representatives and the state Senate. That is, I have not checked as of today, but is waiting the governor's signature, that would require a blue ribbon commission in every single county. This blue ribbon commission will be members of the Board of County Commissioners, one representative by the way of municipalities, one representative from townships, and then a citizen representative. So heavily on the county focus, and we only have one seat with all the different jurisdictions. But that blue ribbon commission would be charged with evaluating cost services, shared services, consolidation. What can local governments do more together in order to provide the best bang for the dollar? The state has already made very clear that from many eyes we are fragmented and that we need to consolidate and we need to look at different things. But the question I'll pose to this group is, what's the problem you're trying to solve? What are we trying to solve? Not this amorphous thing, not this political item, but what problem are we trying to solve? And I think, here locally, the relationship that Beavercreek Township with the city, with the school district, with Greene County, and with our neighbors, it's pretty impressive. I'm going to go into that on your show. And then we get into appropriations by expense type. What this chart tells you is it's pretty interesting. If you look at our salaries and our fringe benefits, the total chart of those two items is only 38%. So many local governments spend 80% of their entire budgets on personnel. We have done a pretty good job of putting dollars to work and capital and programming and operations. How we do business, we have to account funds based off restricted revenue. So yes, if you take just the fire fund,
we use capital funds. So clearly, if you just look at the fire fund, just that one fund, yes, their proportion of personnel to that one fund is massive. But because we account for capital in different funds, you would have to include that in. So we are fairly lean in terms of our personnel and our operations. We try to put a lot of that back in either directly giving the services that you all desire, roads, and ensuring that we have infrastructure, or by way of the tools that our personnel need, fire apparatus, supplies for the EMS, ladders, engines, those things that actually put the people to where they need to be to go running their services. I spoke to you about the Blue Ribbon Commission that's being put forward. This is a legacy slide, but what I did was I put some success stories. So Beavercreek Township, we have over 30 shared service agreements with many of our entities. But in 2025 alone, sometimes you have a stale slide that just gets repetitive. Well, here's some examples of things that we've done in 2025. Some of these Pete even talked to last week as well. We had a joint grant submission with the city of Beavercreek to Greene County to have a new welcome center for the senior center. You've been in the senior center recently, you understand that obviously the ability to serve all people was a little bit needed to be repaired. So we went for a grant to have that funded at the senior center. The township, in combination with the Greene County engineer, Beavercreek City School District, as well as Greene County Parks and Trails, we had a joint grant submission and project to do a shared use pad in front of Floyd Trayvine Elementary Middle School on Dayton Xenia. We also had a joint grant submission with the city of Beavercreek with Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission, where we did a community survey. If you received that survey, it was last year, and now we're digesting the results from that survey and looking towards the next step of what we can do to apply for another micro grant to put the results of that survey to work in serving you. Another item we did, and I'll add a little bit more about this, is that we partnered with Beavercreek City Schools on a stormwater project. We had some localized flooding at Ankeny Road and Dunham Drive, where unfortunately residents were having issues with the basements flooding, and there was a drywall on the school's property that they were allowing us to tap in to go extend a tile to address some stormwater needs. So those are the types of things that we understand that none entity can do all alone. We have to work with others to achieve. This next slide I'm very proud of. And I hope this becomes a norm. This is the second year that I'm able to report this. But once again, Beavercreek Township received the Ohio Auditor State Award. And one of the most impressive things about this is that there are 1,308 townships in the state of Ohio. And according to the Auditor of State, Beavercreek Township is the only township in the entire state of Ohio to receive this award. So we're very proud of that. These are changes led by our fiscal officer, Mr. Area, our finance department. We are doing good work. We are making sure that we are doing our financial statements at a higher level than what we are even required to. That translates to more information to you, more transparency. And then when we do get audited, we audit on more strict standards, as well as the compliance review is much more stringent. In addition to that, to be able to have this recognized, shown to testament of our trustees as well, will give us the tools that we need to go to the work to be able to represent all of you. Speaking about financial transparency, we have a financial hub on our website. All the reports that our fiscal officer gives to the trustees, none of those are hidden. The very exact same reports are all available to you. If you go to beavercreektwpohio.gov and go to the fiscal officer's landing page, you can see all the reports, check by check detail, in which the trustees use to make wise decisions. And based off all that, I'm also happy to report that in October of last year, the Ohio Auditor State also awarded us 4 out of 4 stars of the open highest achievement and open and transparent. So we're very committed to that. Not only do we produce the information to you as we have available to you, but this also requires us to have timely responses to public records requests, to have information published online in advance. We're very proud.
But with any good thing, there's always more to do. So I'm happy to announce that in 2026, we're not stopping. We're moving forward and we're implementing Clearly. ClearGov is a new and improved budgeting and transparency tool that we're going to put out and implement this year so that we have a more interactive facing transparency hub to our public. Yes, right now we publish all of the PDFs and all the spreadsheets and all the reports. But granted, some of that is a little bit of account speak and some of that is a little bit stale. So by way of making it more transparent, more democratic, so to speak, we are partnering with ClearGo to have that portal available to all of you. And in addition to that, we are also partnering with them for budgeting. We are doing an advanced budgeting process that is going to take away all of this different forms of presentation and spreadsheets. We're going to do it through a system and publish that information to you. So I'm very happy about that. Moving forward to some of our departments, I do want to commend our public service department. They are lean but mighty, dedicated men and women who go out there during inclement weather, respond to all sorts of, especially lately with all the white stuff that comes down, and tries to give the type of services that our residents need. They're lean, but they do a fantastic job. Some of the projects that they worked on, as I mentioned, the shared use project with the city school district in regards to, we had stormwater improvements that needed to happen. This is Ankeny Road here in Dunham Drive. There's an existing dry well that we were able to tap in and solve a lot of stormwater issues. As you know, as plats develop over the years, in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, these types of regulations, they weren't even contemplated back then. And then additionally, you have older forms of road. Sometimes the pavement you're putting on top of pavement more than you're scraping off. So you're creating runoff and the stormwater infrastructure is not always there. So this was a project that we were able to implement. And the reason I show this one is because, yes, we are small in terms of numbers, but the expertise that we have within our department, we do a lot. A lot that other townships would not do, they would have to sub out. And I have a little video on the next slide that just kind of shows some of the work they do on any given basis. So this just shows you, this is all done in-house, which saves taxpayer dollars by having contract, the type of, contractors to do this work. And if you come into our government center, literally they have moved walls, they have created offices, they have done things for us that otherwise we would sub out. We try to do it internally. One of the innovative things that we did a few years ago is we created an intra-fund billing, where we can, put in tickets to have our public service department come and service us, as opposed to just calling a vendor, having our own people available to do those types of work has been very beneficial, timely, and quality work.
You want to go to the next slide or keep it going? Okay.
One of the items we tackled in last year was we did a public service building study. Public service building, if you're not familiar, if you go past Station 61 on Dayton Xenia, past the Phillips Park and the old Phillips House, Beaver Cemetery, right across Beaver Cemetery, there's a front-facing building and a lane that goes down to our public service department. A public service building was built for the intention to be a public service building, which in the government world, that's not always the case. A lot of times you inherit buildings that have no purpose or were never designed to be where they're at. My office is one of them. There's examples of the PD. You kind of inherit things over time. Well, this was actually built for this. But 25 years ago, when this was put in, the growth of the township was factored in, but never to where we're at today. We have grown exponentially over the years. And so we needed to look towards the future and look at where we're at with public service. More subdivisions need more lane miles, need more care. And we are fortunate today that a lot of our equipment is stored in-house. And that way we can prolong the rollout in terms of a new plow or a new truck or a new backhoe, because we're able to take those equipment outside of the elements and keep them inside. But as we continue to grow, space is a premium. So we engaged an architect to kind of look at our site. I'm not going to dwell into this much, but we are looking at how we can utilize a very narrow parcel. You can see by the site spec there, It is very narrow. The actual width of it, the building itself takes up most of it. We're very little breathing space, so to speak. But we are looking at ways to bump out certain areas to be able to house more equipment to keep it out of the elements. And we know as more subdivisions come online, we know that it equates to eventually we will have to look at one of the premier services that we all should expect to have great service on, that's snow removal and having plow trucks at the ready and be able to have those in a heated garage support. And this just goes into some of the different scenarios, but we can answer to that. Excellent. We have an update on the Valley Road improvements. I'm happy to report that phase one of Valley Road improvements has been fully funded. You may recall me speaking about we received a federal appropriations from Congressman Turner of $1.5 million on the federal appropriations budget. We also combined that with a 20% local match, as well as we received a OPWC, Ohio Public Works Commission grant, about $577,000. So if you're familiar with Valley Road in front of the airport, as you come underneath the runway out of the tunnel, at Valley, as you're going north, it dips down greatly, and you have line of sight issues. This is a safety issue that we're enhancing the intersection. We're going to be straightening out a valley to have better line of sight. We're also going to be raising Valley so many feet to be able to have you able to see oncoming traffic. The Greene County Airport is adding a lot to their facilities. They're actually in the process right now of adding an additional hangar. I'm going through that approval process, as well as Greene County Commissioners right next door has purchased, I believe it's 60 acres, and where they fully intend not to be landowners, they fully intend to that to be developed, either support the airport or further economic development. So I know progress is not always seen as more building, but for lack of a better term, we have to follow the path of progress. So we know that in the future, we have to continuously upgrade intersections, upgrade roads. Some people may question, why do it now? There's not much there. You know, Wayne Gretzky used to say, you go where the puck is going, not where the puck has been. You have to have a vision of where you want to be. And we know that these things are coming online in the future, so we have to be proactive. And funding is we use it or lose it in terms of the availability of grants. And if we can obtain those grants, you know, we want to utilize that for those force multipliers of matching dollars. Another big undertaking we did in 2025, it was a long time coming, is that we updated our comprehensive land use plan. This goes right back to the age-old question of, can't you all do something about development? Can't you all control and stop, building? The short answer to that is no. You cannot be arbitrary and you cannot be capricious in any decision with zoning. But what you can do is that you can look at your community and decide where do you think growth is intended to happen and where do you think items of progress could eventually occur. Courts will not accept that you want to keep something agriculture. Courts will accept that as you contemplate the growth, as you contemplate changing of ownership, does it align with your community plan? So we went through it was painstaking, but for good reason, because you had a lot of good people with a lot of different opinions coming together and trying to produce a plan about the future growth of the township. And our trustees were able to pass this last year. And if you go to our webpage, there's a very long community plan document that you can read about the methods, about the stakeholder engagement. Some of you, I believe, were even involved. And this has been a multi-year process. I know the city is wrapping that up. We're going through something very soon. So speaking of development, a couple of things that are coming online here momentarily. Up here is Westvale Woodlands. If you look at the GIS image here, this is Trayvine. This is affectionately called Motherville, but Stone Hill Village over here. This is infill coming in. As you can see, there's 100 homes. The zoning has already been accomplished. They're now moving forward with a specific site plan. This site plan is pending approval of the traffic study, but once the traffic study has been approved, it'll be moving forward back to our zoning commission and eventually back to our township trustees for consideration. And here's a good example where we try to work with all parties involved.
when this development originally came through for zoning, the development called for 250 homes. Throughout good public hearings, input from stakeholders, working with the developer, working with the applicant, having conversations. Not saying each party is wrong, but trying to get to a reasonable, practical solution. We got the zoning from 250 down to 100. Again, we realize that maybe progress is not always due as development, but we, for lack of a better term, had very little guardrails of what we are able to enforce in terms of what private property owners can do. Next. This next subdivision is referred to as Bridgeton. This is down off Indian Ripple. As you see here, here's Indian Ripple. And then Windermere, and then Shepherd is over there. So Country Club in the north area. We have a rezoning request in front of us that we are considering. This rezoning request is for about 65 acres and 151 single family homes. This has not gone to a public hearing. The public hearing was held to the zoning commission. The zoning will be considered if recommendations move forward. Trustees will consider that. And then following a rezoning, there's a site plan. And point of clarification, if I may, zoning is difficult, land use is difficult. You first have to start with zoning. Zoning is the land use, is what the land is being used for, able to be done. Following a rezoning, you get a site plan. Those two are intertwined, but they are not always done concurrently. And as ownership change, so can an entire development in terms of the zoning may be there, but site plan may never come, or the site plan may be completely different. So those types of items, I do know get intertwined from time to time. And then the big one is Valley Springs Farms, no stranger to this group. As you all know, Valley Springs Farms is over 500 acres. That is along US 35 where the new interchange is, where Trayvine Valley crossover. This is heavily being marketed right now and heavily being considered for further development. This is currently owned by two brothers, and there's been some due diligence involved. I've even seen the drones in the air, some ecological work. So there are very interested parties in this property, and this property is being marketed and zoned for mixed use. So as we see things, yes, housing, single family, Beavercreek is a great place to call home. It's also a great place to work and to play and to have their amenities as well. This is an example of where some of those items can also come online. Another big item, that redline you, but another big item I'm very proud of is we finally got the FAA to release about 4 acres of land next adjacent to the airport. This project has been going on for years, and the bureaucracy you can imagine locally is sometimes people claim that's bad. Imagine the bureaucracy at the federal level dealing with the FAA. This was a multi-year process in which we submitted an application for the FAA to release property owned by the Greene County Airport. And the reason it had to go through the FAA land release process is that this portion of property was purchased in the 80s through a federal aviation grant. So part of that release had to be approved by the FAA. Good news is in October of last year, the FAA officially released the property to be able to be subdivided and sold to Beavercreek Township. And we are now in the last leg of this to hopefully get across the mile to purchase this property for the sole purpose of future public use, government purpose, fire station, government office buildings. I'll get to that here briefly about station placement. I won't dwell on this, but we hear you out here. One of the items that the trustees acted on last year was door-to-door solicitors, transient vendors, headed for them. So, we looked into the Iowa Revised Code, and there was a tool in the toolbox where it can regulate very reasonable regulations on door-to-door solicitors. Nothing unheard of, very common for little communities. But we responded to residents' concerns and demands about meeting an actual registration and permit to go door-to-door. So we now restricted door-to-door solicitations can only occur Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. They have to have a permit, and you have to be able to display that permit if asked. This is more a tool if needed. This is not meant to go out and police this type of items. Though it is a gentle reminder that when people ask, now we have something to fall on and say, yes, we do have this, and here's how we go about handling that. Prior to, there was nothing in place, therefore there was no answer to give when somebody asked. Moving on to our cemetery, this is on Dayton Xenia. I'm happy to report, this year we're gonna kick off a columbarium. I don't know if it's columbarium or columbarium. I'm not sure how to properly put that there, but we are looking at columbariums at Beaver Cemetery. We're gonna kick this project off this year. This first part is gonna be in initial planning stages. We're gonna start with kind of a proof of concept to ensure that when we have these for sale, we've been told by the partners in the area, the funeral homes in the area, this is a in demand. This is something that those looking for different types of burials. This is a trend. This is something that market wants. So we're going to do proof of concept, get one up and running, and then if successful, do multi phases as we move forward. So I'm happy to report that. And I always plug this in because I think it's important to respect the American flag. And one of the items is that we have American flag retirement boxes at all township facilities, as well as more of a permanent structure at Beaver Cemetery. So if you have a flag that needs to be properly retired, go to any fire station, any township facility or the cemetery, there'll be one of these boxes available to you. We collect them through our shared substation, and then as you know, each year on Flag Day, June 14th, Green County Sheriff does a very proper retirement ceremony at the fairgrounds, and our flags are included in that. Speaking of our substation, I'm very proud of our partnership with the Green County Sheriff's Office. We currently have one supervisor, 6 deputies, and a K-9 Maverick, who probably gets all the fame. Back in 2003, we entered into this agreement. It started off humble, but as we continue to grow, the services that our deputies perform are not just responding to 911, they are truly integrated in the community. As you see here, their activity is very great, and not only just about patrol, they're also doing community policing. They're integrating the community. They participate. I know they collaborate with City PD. I'm very gracious for the partnership they would have with the City PD with our substation. And then here are just some items in terms of some proactive stats for our substation. As you can see by the numbers, and I won't dwell upon them, but you can see they're increasing. The work that our deputies are out there doing proactive measures, house checks, neighborhood patrols, going out there and checking if someone's on vacation and putting their house on check. Those are the types of things that, again, it's not just about patrol or responding 911, albeit important. These are the type of community policing initiatives that we also try to put out there. And next, we'll move on to the fire department. I tell you what, the call volume is increasing dramatically. In 2025, we hit over 8,000 calls. The exact number is 8,138 calls for service in 2025. And if you break that down, that's roughly about, I think came out to like 22 and a half, rough plus or minus calls per day. So it's getting close to the average out through the entire year, about 1 call every hour. It's very busy. As you see here, here's a map of all the station placements and their areas of service. As you can see on the listing of the busiest stations, Station 63 on Kemp is the busiest station. Station 64 on Indian Ripple the second, followed by Station 62, which is on the western part by Millwood and Dayton Xenia, followed by Station 61, kind of HQ, Orchard and Dayton Xenia, and the Station 65, our new station at Trayvine at Fairgrounds. As you know, Beavercreek, we have 2 hospitals, 2 ERs, so the amount of traffic and the amount of business with 2 malls, 2 interstates, it's a very busy community. One of the items I do want to point out is, if you know, in 2017, we had about 6,100 calls, and to today, jumping back to 8,138. So in less than 10 years, our call volumes increased by 33%. And we expect that to continue to increase. Next, please. I do want to note that also it's very important that we hear you loud and clear. Levy fatigue is real. Levy fatigue is out there.
property taxes ought to be scrutinized and they need to be scrutinized, which is why back in 2009, led by, our chief Vandenboss as well as, our board of township trustees, we went to a 10-year funding plan. Where we told the community that if you pass this levy, we will not come back to you for at least 10 years. And that would be transparent and upfront with you in terms of where we're gonna be utilizing those dollars. Happy to report, we did all those metrics. 2019, we went out for a second 10-year cycle, and we had some commitments, again, being transparent about what we would do with those dollars. And I'm happy to report that you see all those check marks. We are checking off everything that we have said that we will do. Promise made, promise kept. We want to continue to be open and transparent. So our promise to you is that we will not come back until the earliest 2029 for additional monies onto road fire levy. In 2025, led by Chief Halker, he did was produced in 25, became effective, a strategic plan for the fire department. Where we have a cross section of our community to engage us about how we're doing, what we need to improve upon. And just recently, I do want to know our service values. We had passed along these bracelets to the crews, and you can see our values of service, safety, integrity, professionalism, and tradition. That's marked here on the bracelet. But one of the things I do want to note that inside the bracelet, there's an acronym called INAM, and it's not about you. And that's the type of attitude, the type of consideration that our public safety departments look at. It's not about me, it's about service to it. So I want to thank Chief Hawker and all those involved to doing that and leading us in a great fashion. Another big thing in 2025, we're coming to the end here, is that our ISO classification was increased. We are now in class 2 ISO, which means that we are in the top 8% of all fire departments in the entire state of Ohio in terms of the ISO classification. And I'm sure our resident expert in insurance can speak to how that would be important. As we move on to some cool photos, I talked about the promises made to the community in our 10-year levy cycle. One of those promises that we were upgrade and roll out aging apparatus. I'm happy to report that we have rolled out all of the different classifications of our apparatus. I'm going from the top left, our new engines, to our new ladder, down to the bottom left, our new rescue, and then new medics. So these are all out, they're in service. Pretty cool looking. I would like to mention that in 2025, we said goodbye to an asset that the township had that lasted probably longer than we intended, but the old Phillips House, as it was called, on Dayton Xenia. We used it as a training facility to the fire department, but not exclusively. Law enforcement, SWAT, and others use that routinely throughout the time to be able to utilize an actual home for their evolutions and for their practice. But we finally was to a point where we had to make a decision, either dump a lot of money into that or put it to rest. So we did a final live burn for the Phillips House, and as you may have noticed, the home is no longer there. We now have a parcel that we're looking at for future growth, and part of that parcel will be that columbarium project that I spoke to. And just briefly, as you see here about fire station location, this is our standards are covered. We know that distance equals time. So as you see here, we outline by data, by analytics, by GIS, of where the response times are and where our goals are. So this is all on our website. Feel free to look at it as needed. And as I move along, I spoke to you briefly about limited home rule. There's been a lot of scrutiny to local governments, and we are aware of that. But ultimately, put this to bed, I think that it's probably best for you all, local residents who live and work, support, pay taxes in the community, probably ought to be the people who make decisions for your community. The closer governments to home, probably the better. We're more responsive. We live in the community in which we serve.
So these are the types of tools on the toolbox that we're looking to in order to further the posture of Beavercreek Township. And finally, we try to be out in the community and engaging us. So we have a listing of all of our social media pages. I know I went over, I tend to do that, so I do apologize. I'll be here afterwards. I just want to say, it's been a pleasure and an honor to be here, serve Beavercreek Township. If you include my elected service as well as my appointed service, I've been involved with the Beavercreek service for, I think I'm going on my 14th year. So it's been a pleasure. I am a high school graduate here. I live here. Beavercreek is my home. And I look forward to continue working with our new board, with our staff, and with all of you to make Beavercreek and continue to make it a great place. So thank you very much.
I should have done that. Thank you, Ron, appreciate it. Got a book here, Mark. Well, we want to do that here. See? Well, I donate a book to the library every week for our paper. And this one is Thank Carrier and Kate Thorne. There you go.
It's for the wetlands.
A lot of good facts. We're still gonna have a small or a short foundation meeting after this meeting. It won't take very long. Let's see if anything I missed. Is there any more old business to discuss? Tomorrow is Scram the Cruiser, 2010 and 2, and roughly 11.
I'll be picking up the stuff at 9:30. I should be over there by 10:30. So
Okay,
show up whenever you want. I should be fully in about 10:30.
you want to help unload the Rotary's donations? Or just get a picture? Please don't. Anything else? Yes, I'm sorry.
Donations that payments and use take.
Say that again, hon, I couldn't hear you.
For the donations that came in today, I've got a bunch of bags of food here. We can learn something out with simple tomorrow for sure.
Yeah.
You might say, sure, no problem. Yes, yeah, I should be able to do that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Graham,
Shout.
Fran is here.
Anything else? You all right with pledge? A pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic that stands one nation under God, indivisible. This is for. Thank you. Nice. Thanks for all. Congratulations.